Hi, my name is Michelle Zena, and I am the scribe for Collective Consciousness. Um, so, the way it works often with me is that I receive messages, not necessarily with pen and paper. A lot of the messages that I receive are they just come to mind, not when I'm necessarily soliciting them. So last week I had a message come to me, and it was about this idea of enabling. It was about an idea of enabling and being a person that is enabled, an enabler and an enablee, if you want to call it that. So what I wanted to talk about here today um, is that well, first of all, I got the message, and then I started really pondering it for about a week, and really looking into this idea, delving deep. And the idea was basically that um, all of us have ways that we enable situations to happen, or that we are enabled. And maybe I should correct that and not say all of us, but perhaps most of us in some way either engage in some way of enabling, or we engage in some way that we allow ourselves to be enabled. And then I also started seeing how it plays out in society. And there are lots of examples. I'm not going to go into the societal examples, because really the idea here is that um, I personally pondered it for myself in my life to see how it was that um, that I was enabling actually someone, and and that this person was receiving it, and it had gone on for a long time. And when it first started out, the relationship of enabling, let's just call it that, I I did recognize that I was participating in it, and I didn't want to, but I was sort of in a situation where I felt like I needed to continue this enabling that was already in place. So I did, and what I what was revealed to me in this last week is that are when we participate in that exchange of either being the enabler or the enablee, what ends up happening is in both situations, the enabler and the enablee, in both situations, there's a shackling, if you want to call it that, of one person or the other, but actually in this case in both. Okay, but you're only seeing it from your perspective, right? So, or you're experiencing it from your perspective. So what I'm talking about is an example. Someone has been, let's just say a child has been being enabled by their parents since they were 5 or 6 years old. And let's say that somehow they figured out, most likely subconsciously, that if they conducted themselves in a certain way, that their parent would continue treating them the way they were expecting it, which was a way in which they were enabled. And the way it looked for the parent is, well, if I want to, for example, introduce something new to this child, I know that this child is going to give me a hard time, they're going to put up a fight or whatever. Let me just give it to them because I don't want to deal with that. And what ends up happening in both roles, okay, the enabler and the enablee, in both roles, what ends up happening is that there becomes an energy of shackling. It literally is like a shackling of both parties involved. All parties involved in some way become like imprisoned in a way, because then they continue to express themselves through this method of either enabling or enabling, being the enabler or the enabled. And instead of being willing to kind of reach out within that same situation and actually choose differently and actually be willing to do something different than the way they've always done it, which might have been an unquestioned way that they've been doing it since they were 5 or 6 years old. Anyways, ponder this thought. I mean, how is it that you might be enabling someone in your life? That's my little dog Druid. And how is it that you might also be allowing yourself to be enabled? And give yourself some time to think about it. Like when I did that, I realized that I was participating in something that at first I was looking from the perspective of the other person. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this person allowed, or somehow did their participation. I wasn't thinking from the perspective, like after I pondered it, then I realized that the way I was participating in it, I was also enshackling myself, because then I always had to conduct myself in this same way every single time this issue, let's just call it, came up within this relationship between me and this other person. And so, like I said, I've been pondering this idea because my guides, collective consciousness, they'll give me an idea, more like something that more so than just an idea. They'll give me something like a quality within myself that they would like to shine a light on and give me the opportunity to transform from. And they do this frequently. For the last 3 years, I've experienced it, I would say at least on a monthly basis, where a light is shined on a quality within myself that I would do better to, at the very least, examine, and more so, perhaps even more than just examine, but also as a way to kind of clear it out, like choose differently, handle this situation differently, conduct yourself differently when it comes up next time, as a way to clear it. So again, the idea is to realize that when you're participating in an exchange, either being enabled or being the enabler, there is an enshackling that takes place, because you're then expected for how many future years to conduct yourself that same way every time that situation comes up. It doesn't matter which side you're on. It's a two-way streak. It's like there's some sort of mutual agreement that both parties are going to play the game that way. And what I did in my situation was that once I recognized it and really pondered it, I then made the decision to conduct myself differently when that came up. And I have been. And of course, the person that this has to do with was surprised and I would say even grumpy with me for a few days about it. But since then, I've actually been really surprised and impressed to realize that I had in some way put a box around this person. And the box was, I expect them to behave this way. I expect them to do this, or I expect them to do that. And since I have been conducting myself differently on this in this respect, I've been shocked, because this person has demonstrated to me that there is no box, and they have been choosing differently after the first few days of grumpiness finished, and I've actually been really impressed with what I've been seeing from this person, and they're probably impressed with me too after they got over the grumpiness. And I got over the grumpiness too, because I was being grumpy. Anyways, hopefully you resonate with this idea of enabling, and think about how this plays out for you, because I think that a lot of times when we clear out tendencies like this, I believe strongly that we start seeing examples, all around us, so that we can lock into place the lesson that there is for us regarding this topic, and also so that we can transform it. Have a great day, and thank you very much.